Morning, everyone. Just going to wait a moment or two. We're now live for the promised Ask Me Anything session. It's going to be a quick one, I hope. But I just want to bring you up to date, give you an opportunity to hear a little bit about what's going on and what is planned, and also to chime in with some questions. That's a primary goal of this morning's session. So by way of update, while I wait for any questions you might have, the current platform is undergoing a revamp. So while we switched over to the new token, we thought we could incorporate some new features into the wallets, as well as to the platform where people are creating profiles. A couple of updates that we have planned for that, and all of that work should be done around mid-May. So our first question. So our first question is it true that the token swap was caused by an error on CoinMetro's side? No, that's not true. The reason we had to do a token swap is because we created DNA using an old smart contract back in 2017. That smart contract had been found to be wanting. It was not up to technological standards for today. Actually, CoinMetro's own token had the same issue. It was created in the same year and had the same issues, so they swapped their token too. The new token smart contract has additional features and a greater security, so that's why we did the token swap. Thanks for that question. So another, back to the brief update while we're waiting for the next question. Other things we're doing besides the platform update, as I mentioned, we've been working to get more press. In the meantime, of course, press is great, especially when it's free, because it gives us the ability to get our name out there, get it prominently heard by the public, and get attention to what we do. Recently I did a couple more interviews. Did one with a very large website in medicine. I'm hoping that we see that article come out shortly. I'll let you know when it does come out. It is one of the top 3 websites in medicine, and I think you'll be pleased with that once it comes out. The other thing that we're working on is trying to get more advertising, and I think we're going to. I can address this question. So let me address this question, then I'll get back to our advertising plans. So you think that advertising on, let's say, YouTubers that are about privacy is a good idea to get more users? There is one called Linus Tech Tips with 1 million people watching, and he really cares about DNA-related privacy. Yeah, absolutely. We're always reaching out, trying to get attention for us for those sorts of channels. If anyone wants to help to recommend us, that helps. When companies themselves reach out, it's not necessarily as effective as if users of those technologies reach out on our behalf. So that if you want to help us to reach those sorts of channels, that would be great. It's certainly a major issue that has come to people's attention recently. One of the things I wanted to mention was that we have another article that we're working on for Forbes that focuses on the issue of the consolidation of the genomics market by Wall Street firms this past year, the threats that poses to people's privacy, the manner in which those companies intend to monetize genomic data, and how our platform really is the only game in town for disrupting that. So put a little more depth in that. BlackRock has acquired Ancestry for about $4.7 billion. 23andMe is going to go public, sort of, and they're doing a SPAC to go public. That's they're valued at $4 billion for that. Recently, my I think it was MyHeritage, also was acquired for an undisclosed sum, somewhere around, I think, 600 million by a private investment firm. The reason all this Wall Street money is flowing into these big genomics testing companies is not because genomics testing is highly profitable, as we've discussed many times in our discussions here. The reason is because the genomic data itself is very valuable. So we're focusing in our campaign on this confluence of events, the rush of these billions of dollars into acquiring big genomics testing companies, what that means for your data's monetization, how you are not part of that equation for most of those companies, and how our company gives you that opportunity to take control of that data and its monetization on your behalf. Do I think Ocean is a competitor to our company? No, I don't. I don't think that they are. That there are a lot of companies trying to disrupt the data markets and create decentralized, disintermediated data experiences. I don't think we have any direct competitors. I think, in fact, there's a lot of opportunity in the various players in this space who want to achieve many of the same ends. We view any company that would want to create a decentralized, disintermediated market for genomics data would be a competitor. But having numerous marketplaces doing that is not necessarily going to be, if they ever do, an issue for our ability to reach people with our unique product. So we have a number of things that we afford that nobody else affords. One is that you keep 90% of the profits. One is that we have a nicely branded cryptocurrency for that, and worldwide reach with that cryptocurrency. So I don't see that as the case. McNeil, okay. Another question: will DNA get listed on more exchanges? Well, that depends. The reason that we accept listings on exchanges is to increase its availability for people who want to use it as a utility token. Our only interest is making sure that people are able to cash it out into other currencies when they get it, when they get paid with DNA for their data, and to make sure researchers have access to it so that they can buy data. Currently, having it on CoinMetro and Uniswap provides that opportunity pretty much anywhere in the world. Now, there are always issues. One is Uniswap and other DEXs have big gas fees for Ethereum. That's not really something we have any control over. CoinMetro's fees are a lot lower, and CoinMetro has significant reach. So right now, those options are enough for us. If we need more liquidity for it, for people buying and selling data, we'll explore other listing options. Another question: are you satisfied by the results of the SDO? Well, no. We got about $200,000 US, which is good, but it's not great. It didn't achieve what we needed to get profitable growth, but it did help us in terms of being able to lay out a roadmap for acquiring a scientifically useful set of users. So as I've said many times, we need about 10,000 users to have a scientifically useful set of data to go to researchers and say, listen, you should use our product to find data because you can avoid the costs and issues involved with creating a human subjects pool. So we can do that with what we've raised. We can get 10,000 users, but 50,000 would be better. Nonetheless, we're going to work with what we got. We're very grateful for those who chose to buy the bonds, and we're going to make sure that that money is put to that use, so that our commitment to make the gene chain grow is upheld. So indigenous is moving quickly. The fellow, my friend Yusuf, who runs that company and also owns and runs True Genomics, is a dynamic leader and has moved quickly in establishing his foothold in Kenya, and they have some excellent deals coming up as well. So it's not just going to be the 19,000 users, but there'll be hundreds of thousands of users eventually coming through that partnership. They're setting up their testing capacity, working with local universities, and also working to acquire sequencing hardware themselves in Kenya. And we're going to be moving quickly with them once they have the capacity to make sure the data that they get in is able to be moved through the gene chain rapidly. So I'm quite pleased with how that's working. So do I see NFTs as a useful tool for gaining ownership and trading genomic data? I don't particularly see that to be the case for a number of reasons I've talked with in the past, because NFTs don't give you ownership of anything. Laws give you ownership. And if you have a NFT of something that cannot legally be owned, it doesn't provide you with any benefit. It's just kind of a ruse. And if somebody says that gives you ownership, they're obviously not familiar with how the law works. I don't think that's the case. We do have our own NFT product we'll be introducing, and that is creating genomic art out of your genome. We did an auction of mine as interpreted by an artist we're going to be partnering with for that product, which is going to be offered on our site as well. It was my genome was sold for half an ether, and it was an interesting proof of concept. But this is I think a unique product we can offer to people who are interested in the NFT space, want to do something interesting with their genomics, and that is actually aesthetically useful rather than technologically useless, like turning genomes into NFTs. How much growth do we expect in the next 2 years? So, the pool of potential users we're working with is huge. Right now, there's 50 million people we should be able to reach and say, listen, monetize your data through our product. You can make money instead of Wall Street making money, or in addition to Wall Street making money, and improve the amount and availability of data for researchers around the world. Reaching that 50 million potential users is the trick. We think we have a really good value statement because actually you can make a pretty good gig out of your genomics based upon data we know from the big data sellers like 23andMe. You should be able to make maybe $100 a year, which is nice. That's $10 a year for us. I think there's nothing outrageous about trying to reach 1% of that market. So 5 million users over the next couple of years would be remarkable, and it would be great. And it's not a huge amount of the potential marketplace, but it's a lot of money for those who would join our marketplace and for us, of course. So I think I would like to, within the next 2 years, focus on achievable goals. I would like to see us reach somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 users in those 2 years. More questions? Yes. So at which stage of your complete vision for DNA you think you currently are? So I think we're still at the cusp of growth. We created a platform, we launched it. We didn't have enough money to grow the user base at that time. We now have a couple of paths for doing so that have emerged through our efforts and through partnerships. So I think we're still very much at the beginning of this journey, and other companies in the space are similarly poised. doing slightly different things. And it's going to be interesting to see how we each approach that marketplace and acquire those users and achieve those goals. So I think we're well positioned because, we're not in the testing business, so we don't require revenue for that. We don't lose money on that. We can piggyback off other testing companies, partner with other testing companies, work with research programs to get those users onto the site and help them to monetize their data and achieve more flexible revenue in that way, because we don't have to grow some sort of logistics testing infrastructure. So, Seth, yeah, so thank you very much. So interesting, you did art with your genome. I've seen genomic art with genomes from viruses or something like that. Seems like a fertile ground for innovation. Thank you. Yeah, we think it's a cool idea. It's one of these sort of luxury items that I think, it could actually bring us some revenue too. So our goal is to work with the artists we've been working with for this prototype, and create that service for others who want to do it. I like the art that he's made from it, and we're also interested in other interpretations of how the genome could be turned into art. It's unique. There are other opportunities from that too that we'll explore too, real technological opportunities that emerge from that as well. So thank you. The next question: how do you anticipate your competition would respond if encryption eats their lunch? Yeah, so no, I think there's a lot of lunch to go around. 50 million users out there is a huge pool. And our competition, we're pretty friendly with them, and I hope that we all succeed and get reasonable shares of that $50 million user pool. That will probably be 100 million users in the next 2 years anyway. So there's lots to go around, and yeah, I like my competitors for the most part, who have been decent human beings trying to do the right thing. And sometimes we even work with them. Thank you for that question. Any other questions? So a question that was sent to me earlier. Yeah, I'll get to those in a second. So a question that was sent to me earlier was, what is the plan for the roadmap? I said earlier that our fully revamped platform should be available in May. And then that gives us an opportunity to ramp up the public advertising campaign, get people on through our current information about SEO, and to tailor our message and direct advertisements to to reflect the current atmosphere, which is, as I said, heavily influenced by the Wall Street investment in genomics in the past year. So question: hi, back from vaccine, I guess. Actually, yeah, I got to go get my second shot next week, so I'll go do that. But can I share some financial info? For example, is profit only from DNA sales? Or are there other revenues, and what is the ratio between earnings and spending? So right now, because we're not earning significant amount of money because we don't have enough users for that, we're burning we're doing the same burn rate we've been doing for the past 2 years, and that is self-financed, and that can go on indefinitely. We'll update you on our burn rate and ratio between earnings and spendings as we start to make money. But the profit will be significantly through DNA data sales, taking our commissions off those. And we have other revenue streams that we're planning, including collaborations like this art project and our B2B model, if we can get that going. So I had an interesting conversation recently with somebody who's a potential investor who's mostly interested in the B2B stuff, and we have that product still ready to roll. The problem has been, again, there's really no market for it. Let me explain that product again. We think that a big deal in the next few years is going to be um, self-insured employers offering genomic tests to their employees as a means to, first of all, offset the costs of healthcare and to bring those costs down through the benefits of personalized medicine that genomics promise. So we have a platform built for that. It's on Azure. It's part of our Microsoft startup role. But there are no customers for it because nobody's doing that yet. Now, we have some partners we've worked with in the past, including Wamberg, who expect that to be the case. They've had some, they've had to readjust their notions about that and target their work differently. And right now, they're focusing only on cancer genomics. But this is still something in the pipeline. We hope that that will be the case. So what we think would be an interesting thing to do is to propose to do a study with an insurance company where they can take some pool of and we have in the pipeline this TPA deal that we've talked about in the past, but that study never got going because of the pandemic. But we think there's an opportunity for that and other studies to prove the case that genomics testing can bring costs of healthcare down, and that revenue sharing through the gene chain can also help offset the cost of testing. So that would be another revenue stream for us in the future as well. Let's see. Is there a risk of token purchasing systems scaring off researchers from using the service? Absolutely, and this is why it was so important for us to partner with CoinMetro. I hope you had a chance to use CoinMetro because it's extremely easy. It's available in the US and pretty much everywhere in the world. And the ease of use, the relative straightforward way in which anybody can join that platform and start to trade is really important for us to be able to go to researchers and say, listen, you don't be scared. This is becoming more common. It's easy for you to use it, and here's how you can do it immediately and get some DNA to use for research. So that's an excellent question. Do we have anything else planned for our crypto ecosystem? So yeah, we want DNA, as I've said in the past, to be the currency for genomic data exchange around the planet. I mean, it only makes sense. It's DNA. And we have some discussions, and we've had them in the past, about incorporating it into other platforms. And I've recently seen a renewed interest in that from other websites, not even crypto related, that are doing medical record work and working with physicians. So these are all very nascent discussions, but very exciting potentials that we think will eventually help us to realize the dream of seeing DNA be that currency. So that's yeah, do we have anything? Okay, here's a question. With past team members selling DNA, how are current team members compensated with salaries or DNA? All our current team members are paid in cash. We're not using DNA to pay team members. That was a one-time thing we did back when we launched the product, and I'm glad that they're happy with what they got. Is there a possibility of EncrypGen in collaboration with labs offering free genome testing for their community? Well, that would be fantastic, and that would make a lot of sense. I don't know which labs are doing that. If you know of any that are doing that, because genomic testing is expensive, and usually the only reason to do it for free is if you intend to monetize the data. We hope that if that's what they're planning to do, then they're going to work with us to help to share the profits, because that's what we're interested in doing. So yeah, that's a possibility. If you know any, please send them our way. We'll happily discuss how we can make that more profitable for everybody, including users. That's the real goal. Some excellent questions. So yeah, I'm happy to take some more questions. If not, I will explain a little bit about our strategy going forward. After May, we'll be launching the the direct advertising campaigns, testing a few more, trying to bring that cost of customer acquisition down. In the past, it's been about 20 bucks, but we think we can get it lower. One of the innovations, one of the things we're going to attach to the platform is a way for us to do some real-time monitoring of the traffic on that platform, including user count over time. So that would be cool to see I think for users. It'll be very useful for us to be able to give you more accurate, up-to-date data upon the traffic that we're hoping to see generated through our campaigns. Yeah, so the advertising plans now, in the past we've used the mostly we've seen success from campaigns that promote the ability to turn your genomics into a gig. We didn't see much success from the privacy or security angle, but people are interested in turning their data into money. So we're going to focus on that with the leveraging of the Wall Street action on genomics over the past year as the hook. So I think with that, we're going to be able to bring down costs of acquiring users significantly. Another question, any concrete plans on working with universities with DNA labs? No, we haven't concretized any of those discussions because we really need a scientifically viable data set. So as we ramp up to 10,000 users, those discussions that we've had in the past, which have occurred, but been very abstract, will be able to be concretized because then we'll be able to say to those labs, listen, we now have a really important data set you can actually use for science. So that's part of that roadmap too. We hope to be in that position by the end of this year. Any other questions? Well, that was a really great bunch of questions this morning. I'm always grateful for all of your input, and I hope you'll participate with us in our Telegram group if you haven't already joined. We don't have an official Telegram group, but we have an officially endorsed group, and we hope that you'll be able to join us in that. I'll put in the chat the link to that officially endorsed Telegram group. We also have a Facebook presence and Twitter, of course. You can always reach out to us there. I think you'll find I'm pretty responsive. No marketing from STO funds has not started because as I said, we're finalizing the revamp of the platform itself, which includes some new features, and we don't want to pile people into a system that's going to be revamped. We'll wait until that's up and running mid-May. Couple more. Do you plan on making more international partnerships? Yeah, so I'm involved, as you know, in a lot of things that are going on in Africa right now through my outreach and the current partnerships. And, as you know, I'm also involved with discussions with ADA Labs and Afia Record. So those partnerships we hope will solidify sometime in the near future. Everything is kind of ramping up now as the pandemic starts to resolve in certain places. It's not resolving here in Mexico, I should say. But in other places it is, and it'll afford us the opportunity to move forward those other international partnerships. Yeah, is it true that encryption data is more valuable because of, wait a second, that was deleted. So let's ask a different one. Seems like the success of the company is directly linked to genomic testing going mainstream, which greatly depends on sequencing prices going down. What are you planning to do in the meantime? Well, it's not really dependent at this stage on that because, as I said, there's a pool of 50 million people who've already been tested. And we can make a lot of money helping people monetize those 50 million people monetize their data. A lot of money. So we could work with just that pool and do quite well. But sequencing prices, well, that's genotyping, but sequencing prices are coming down. And as that happens, I think we'll see even more usefulness for the data, and an expanding market for people who want to monetize that more useful data. So in the meantime, we're trying to reach that huge pool that we already could reach. And in the meantime, we're ramping up our capacity to deal with heavier sequencing data, et cetera. So as a source of revenue, I'm not sure. Okay. Ola, can you elaborate on your question as source of revenue? Okay. Is it true that EncrypGen's data is more valuable because of metadata and that the other companies can't offer? No. I mean, every company that wants to monetize data does that. They have to. So 23andMe, your raw genomic data is not valuable without the health questionnaire that they ask you to fill in. Every month, they email me saying, please fill in your health questionnaire. You can help genomic scientists. So everybody who wants to monetize genomic data needs that other data, data about you, because it's the correlations between the two that make that data valuable. What makes us different is that we're an utterly free market where people keep most of the profits from their data sales. And we also have a flexible and interactive method of getting more data for researchers that I don't think anybody else has, and that is the survey. So a researcher who buys your data can then create a survey for you to fill in to augment that data. And that, I think, is unique, and that does make it a little more valuable. So a question about whether we can provide liquidity on Uniswap and SushiSwap, and about listings. Again, we're quite happy with how available data, the DNA is to users, both buyers and sellers. So we're not looking at listings on sexes, but we are providing liquidity on Uniswap, and we have provided some on SushiSwap too. If it's necessary to provide more, we will certainly do so. But there are a lot of users also doing that right now. So the question is how much DNA tokens will a user earn for selling genomic data? Well, that is not really the critical question, because that number of tokens will vary based upon the fluctuating price of the token itself. What matters is how much people ask for in dollars when listing their data. So when you create a profile and you list your data, you set a dollar figure for what you think that data is worth. Either somebody buys it or they come back with a counter offer, and you end up negotiating a price basically where people will buy the data. And that price is always going to be in dollars. Now, so that means if you're earning, right now, if you earn $10 for a sale of your genome, you're going to have, I don't know, a couple thousand DNA. I'm not sure what the current exchange rate is. But over time, as people want to buy more and more data and the demand for the token goes up, the price of the token may change, and that stash you have now sitting in your wallet may be worth more. So, the DNA you sold for $10 yesterday might have rendered you a profit already, depending upon any increases that might come from the exchange rate. And the exchange rate for the sale is gathered through the APIs from the various listing sites. So CoinGecko and CoinMarketplace provide that data to set the prices, to translate the price in US dollars to the current price in DNA. So how much of data sets do you expect to have in a year? I do understand that after a certain number, it's like the snowball effect. So right now we have about 1,500 data sets. There's about 7,000 wallets on the system, and that means there's 7,000 users. Our first goal is to reach 10,000 data sets. And that's achievable given what we've got from the STO and from the existing group of users who haven't necessarily uploaded their data. So I would like to see us at 10,000 data sets by the end of the year. Again, that's our scientifically viable number. And it's absolutely achievable with the money we have and with the user base we have. So when you buy data, what exactly will you be owning? The genome sequence files, that particular sequencing, the assembly or annotation, SNP calling. So basically right now you get the text file that you would get from getting sequenced de-identified. So we strip out any identifying information. And that's what researchers use when they sit down with Plink or R and they start to do some genome-wide study. They need a bunch of those files. And that's exactly what Dr. Gonzalez, our co-founder and who's an active genomic researcher, that's what she works with. So that's what they get. Now, nobody owns data, as I've said many times. So they don't own the data. They just get the file and work with that file, just as any researcher works with genomic data files as they're doing their research. So that's I mean, if you've done any genomic research, you know that these files are themselves useful for the research. That's what you work with. That's what you plug into the various tools and do your studies with. Future partnerships, any sort of roadmap available, marketing plans, revenue streams. Thanks, Prof. Yeah, as I said, we're in discussions with a number of other potential partners, many focused in Africa right now. We're going to revisit some of our existing partnerships with testing companies, and we're always getting inquiries about whether we want to partner with new testing companies. There are hundreds of genomics testing companies out there. They're not always our cup of tea. Marketing plans I've discussed. You can review the tape for that. We're going to refine on and expand on our previous testing with direct marketing through Google AdWords. And we're always working on press and getting some of that these days. Revenue streams also, I've addressed that. So rewind and take a look. Is there a guideline or a range for setting your price when lending out your DNA data? Yeah, well, we suggest setting the price at maybe $5 or $10. And the idea is that you're going to sell it many, many times. Once we have a decent pool of data, researchers will come to it, look for files, buy those files en masse. Yours will be included in those. And you'll be selling your data more than once. The data we know is that 23andMe users who have agreed to have their data sold have had their data sold more than 200 times. So we're calculating based on that there's going to be enough research, there's going to be enough demand, just like in the monopolized markets. In our free market, for you to be selling your data, maybe 50 or 100 times a year to start, at $5 a shot. So that's not bad money, and that's what we figure the market will start at. And who knows, maybe we can replicate the monopolized market's success at selling data hundreds of times as well. So sequencing depth, coverage, quality of assembly could be attributes that influence the price, absolutely. So right now, the bulk of the data that we're dealing with is just the flat text files that you get from 23andMe or Codigo 46 or other testing partners. And that's useful data. That's data the scientists actually use and want and will buy. But better data is, of course, going to bring more value. It should be noted that indigenous AI's data is going to be sequencing data, and it's going to be much more high quality. It will be not just genotyping data, which is most of what's out there, but much more valuable, and we think that will drive revenue up for us as well. And yeah, you would set the price differently if you're selling that kind of data. Can EncrypGen look into Flux and their partnership with CoinMetro and KDA? Perhaps you could advertise there, somehow incentivize users to spend some crypto and get their DNA sequence. Yeah, we're already looking into that. Somebody in our Telegram group called our attention to that, and we're looking into that. Thank you. All right, coffee break. All right, any other questions? There have been quite a number of questions. I'm very pleased by all of these questions and your willingness to join us today and support our work. Do I work for EncrypGen full time? Yeah, well, I'm also a parent. I have 2 kids who are home because of the fact that schools are not having live classes. So I don't consider that employment. But it is a part of what I do. Do I still have academic work? No, I'm not teaching anywhere right now, and I'm not paid for teaching anywhere. I'm always happy to do guest lectures, and occasionally I do those. But EncrypGen is my full-time work. It is my sole income, and it is my life's passion. By sole income, I mean right now that I'm not making any money from it. So there's a tremendous incentive for me to get revenue. So that I can also get paid. The monthly burn rate goes to paying our employees who are Notice Gasparis, who is our lead tech, a couple of contractors who work with him to develop the site and to improve it. We have a part-time COO, Carolyn Seed, who's been with us since the start. So those are, and our marketing team, of course, which is myself and Monica Sandoval. Do you still have academic work? No, I don't. Do you want to list on another exchange or exchanges? I've covered that. Right now we're satisfied with the availability of the token for users, and that's what we're focused on as a utility token. Will EncrypGen offer their own testing kits? Not unless we get very rich. It's a money-losing business to do testing for the most part. It's expensive. There's a lot of logistics involved, and we can make money on the aftermarket for the data without having to pay for the testing. Most of the testing companies, the big ones, are actually not making money selling the testing. They're making money monetizing the data, and there they keep most of those profits. Because we only keep 10% of the sales of the data, it would not make us significant money to get in the testing business. We're happy to work with our testing partners to do that. Let's see, do you plan to host an AMA every week or fortnight, or remains it a once a month? I think right now once a month, given the rate of our progress and given the amount of tasks I have on a daily basis, makes sense. If there's a demand for more frequent AMAs, I'm happy to do them, sua sponte. So let me know if you want to do that. CoinMetro has a 32% spread between the bid and the ask that makes it impossible to trade. Yeah. Do you think it's acceptable DNA to trade that provides efficient liquidity? That's not really the issue for us. And I've talked many times about how important it is for us not to be worried about the trade of genomic data in the trading world. What's important for us is that DNA be available for users if they need to buy it or they need to cash it out. That's what a utility token is for. It's not an investment. It's not meant for trading. It's for payments as currency on our system. So what goes on in the third-party markets about DNA matters to us only in as much as it's available for users who get paid in DNA to cash out, and it is, or for people to use for buying genomic data, and it is. So we're not going to comment any more on that. How do you think about overseas marketing strategy, especially location in Asia? Yeah, Asia is an emerging market for genomics. It hasn't seen a huge growth, and China is a special case because China doesn't let genomic data be used from its people be used elsewhere. But we're interested in the Asian markets and always looking for viable partnerships there, people who are interested in achieving our vision. working with us to make sure people who are getting tested and they're starting to get tested in Asia, allow them to monetize and profit from their data. Let's see, I know you mentioned testing centers are able to bulk buy data sets or data set providers able to sell only parts of the data set given the choice. That's not currently the case, but it's certainly part of our plan. So one of the challenges that everybody faces in this business right now is trying to be able to expose only a portion of the data to buyers. And that's something we've talked about in the past, working on our experiments with federated data storage, and that would be a solution for that question. So is our concept currently only applied to the human genome, microbiomes? Yeah, currently only to human genomes, but yes, absolutely, microbiomes, plant genomes, animal genomes. We could replicate this sort of marketplace for other sorts of omics, and will do so when it becomes profitable, when we're able to use revenue from the growth of the gene chain itself to fund that. Wow, it's been a terrific bunch of questions, and the time is moving quickly. So I'm happy to answer one last question if you have one. Otherwise, I will wrap it up here. And thank you, as always, for your participation, for your patience, for your support, and for your ongoing interactions in our various social platforms. I look forward to hearing any further questions you have on any of those platforms and in our next AMA. So thank you all for joining us. It's been really enjoyable for me, and I hope it's been informative for you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Oh, one last question. Did someone have a sequencing with 25K invest on the STL? No, nobody did at that level. So thank you. Take care. Bye.